what systems are there. So thank you very much for that. And the last of the, and we will take well for time. I think that we started late. It will give us a lot of time, I think, for discussion, which we, I'm sure we will have a lot of questions. So for that, I come to our last presentation for this particular session. And Mr. Kumar will present this again from the Center for Media Studies and the Archive Memory in Oral Testimony. I will go to that.
Good afternoon, friends. Respected Chair, Rajasthan State Archives, Rawat Saab, and my philosopher and guide, Prof. Rakesh Batabyal, who has given me the opportunity to present this paper before you. The title of my paper is Can We Archive Memory Through Oral Testimonies? We know it very well that archives are not merely repositories of memory, but more than that. Memory involves whole of the sensorium of human being and the rich layered life experiences, and it goes beyond temporality and travels from generation to generation. In this paper, I have tried to bring some oral testimonies out that tell of the journey of the memories and the making of the persona. I have selected 9 figures, 3 leaders from opposition side, Dr. Lohia, Rakesh Gupta and Lalu Prasad, 3 leaders from government side, Indira Gandhi, Madhu Dandavati and Narendra Modi, and 3 public intellectuals, Bipan Chandra, Malkani and Harishankar Prasad, and collected oral testimonies on them. This paper deals with their oral composition, its publics and reception from 1967 to 2017. Man is made of memories. Memory carries different emotions, bhavas and rasas with it. In a time when there is a deliberate effort to erase the public memory and stop the public mind with wanted and unwanted impressions, memory sites are being destroyed. There are some archives which are trying their level best to preserve those memories, which tell of the story of gradual development of human sensibilities and thus human civilization. There has always been a debate over the sanctity of oral and written composition. This is the country of Kabir, who says, "Tu kahta kagad ki lekhi, main kahta aakhan dekhi." That is, you tell what you have read in the written books, but I tell what I have observed and experienced. On the contrary to this, Kafka writes, "You have not enough respect for the written word, and you are altering the story," said the priest. Sometimes memories make us remember agonies, tragedies, lots of pain. They are not always pleasant. There is a couplet of Akhtar Ansari, "Yaade mazi ajab hai ya Rab, chhin le mujhse hafiza mera." That is, the memory of the past is so traumatic, it's like curse, take my memory power away. Kundera echoes the same, "I wanted nothing more than to disappear, go off by myself, wipe out the day before yesterday, and today, wipe it all out so that not a trace remained." Reception of media creates subjectivities in which audience and its character itself are one. The constituent factors of an audience include orators' own self, reflection of their character in public sphere, and the claims they make in their speeches. Constitution of audience through listening and reading, which in some ways rhetoric, is the premise in which I will see the effect of composition, which acts as catalyst. The issue in media studies today is to capture their subjectivities in frames from oratory to digital world, harnessing the audience power and yet not to allow them to go out of control, and audience being both resources as well as threat to governance. Determinants of reception in audience making are age, beliefs, culture, gender, life experience, mood at the time of listening, reading and watching. Taking these factors into consideration, audience can be studied in some of these categories: crowd, masses, fans, admirers, followers, and public. There are therefore the question of forms of media and their corresponding media audience formation. One is faced with new questions as how different sensibilities are influenced by different media. The erstwhile themes of media I have already talked about: an active audience. The present moment of post-literate and digital world has further brought the issue of orality and its audience. Thus, the idea of public speaking as form of oral media must have a particular way of constituting audience. I wish to see through oral testimonies how an audience is constituted through its engagement with public and can be archived memory in this process. One of the leading scholars of the modern rhetorical tradition of India, Rakesh Batabyal, puts it as an effort at expansion of the realm of truth. The speech makers of the post-independence India in the first 2 decades have served the nation in many ways. They used to boost up morale of the public to fight poverty and prevailing inequalities to build the nation afresh. They also set the standards of language and declamation. Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address is a famed instance of epidictic oratory. In America, it remains traditional for a chosen speaker to meet the challenge of the 4th of July or other dates of national significance by appropriately ceremonious oratory. For this, I have applied life history, life story analysis of the selected subject, life world, rich layered history of detailed life world, socio-cultural, politico-economic life of man. Social scientists such as Henry A. Murray, who studied individual lives using life narratives primarily to understand personality development, and Gordon Allport, who used personal documents to study personality development in individuals, began using a life as a whole approach in the 1930s and 1940s. This approach reached its maturation in the studies of Luther and Gandhi by Erik Erikson, 1975, who used the life history to explore how the historical moment influenced lives. We have heard that विभत्स का भी अपना आकर्षण होता है. A scene which arouses different kind of bhavas in you, scorn and fear, has also its own attraction. In Indian rhetorical tradition, there has been a culture of debate, dialogue and dissent. When democracy flourishes, opposition makes the government vibrant and responsible. In India, there have been many leading orators who have enriched the parliamentary debates and public speaking, being in opposition, government and intellectual space. Edward Snowden says, I don't want to live in a world where everything that I say, everything I do, everyone I talk to, every expression of creativity or love or friendship is recorded. When I came to JNU, I found a wonderful book, the Penguin Book of Modern Indian Speeches, written by my guide. It shows how passionate and patient one has to be to bring such a piece of work. In my childhood, I read Mahatma Gandhi's Talisman and his prophetic quote, my life is message. Then I came to IMC and there I became acquainted with Marshall McLuhan, who says medium is message. And then in JNU, I read an article by Dr. Rakesh Batabyal, Nehru, the man is message. In fact, it was my guide who motivated me to work in the area of my real interest and sent me to the old people of remote villages of Bihar and UP to collect oral testimonies. Yesterday, when we were visiting the State Archive, I remembered a Persian couplet often read by my Ustad Mohtaram Masood Sahab, Baya damane ilm gir ustuwar ki ilmat rasanat badaru kara. Come and hold the body of knowledge strongly, because it is knowledge which will emancipate you. Ibn कहते हैं यह दुनिया एक मदरसा है और हम सब इसमें तालिबे इल्म हैं. When we go to field work, the relationship between the researcher and the respondent is never mechanical, and framed questions sometimes seem to be futile or vulnerable. They enrich us so much, we want to listen to them uninterruptedly. I think we develop a relation with them. We start respecting their experiences. I met an 85-year-old Sarpanch who told me that in the village Mathona, in the Khagaria district of Bihar, Dr. Lohia came in the 50s. And he used to do chaupal-type gathering and educate the mass like a teacher. It was very surprising for me that he was the single person who told me that Lohia had visited that area which was almost ignored by Todarmal in the period of Akbar because of floods. Otherwise, I would never know this fact in any book. Then I went to Rajkishore Prasad, an 80-year-old retired block agriculture officer and development officer, who is known as Hakim Sahab in the village Naam, Khagaria, for an oral testimony on Indira Gandhi. But he started telling me about his reception of freedom movement and reverence for Mahatma Gandhi and love for Pandit Nehru. He told that in 1956, he saw Nehru in Polo Ground, Munger. He went very close to Nehru near the stage. Ji bharkar dekha. Nehru ji stood in the direction of the river Ganges, and for a minute he didn't speak anything. Sri Babu, the Chief Minister of Bihar, went near him to speak something in his ear. Nehru was not very pleased by this interruption. That day I felt that how much respect my PM had for the holy river. Before that, he shared a heart-touching story. Gandhiji was assassinated. There was a Muslim villager of Bidio Sahab who was living in Calcutta for livelihood. The moment he heard this news, he rushed to his village thinking that some Muslim guy had killed Babu and he had to face consequences. He reached the village and through him only people knew about this tragic news. Hakim Sahab remembers that the people of both the religion of the village, Ram, made an putla of Tual and Arthi, fire of Babu, and went near Bagmati river where they paid the last tribute to their relatives. Everyone was crying. That ghat is still known as Gandhi Ghat, and the same respect was given to Indira Gandhi when she was assassinated. That was the bond between a leader and his followers. Now I shall share some oral testimonies on Dr. Lohia. A veteran socialist, Sachidanand Sinha, living in a small village Manihari of Muzaffarpur district, recalls his association with Dr. Lohia when he was in Hyderabad for the publication of Mankind, the mouthpiece of Socialist Party, edited by Dr. Lohia. Sachidanand worked in the editorial team of the magazine for some time. He tells that Dr. Sahab used to deliver his speeches in Hindi, but for the dissemination of his ideas, policies and programs amongst masses, he chose English for his stream magazine. Lohia was very much original in his approach. When I asked him whether he considers him as the critic of Pandit Nehru first or a freedom fighter of the first row, he replied that Lohia was one of the builders of the nation, a true disciple of Mahatma Gandhi, and followed his path in a righteous manner after his demise. He was very conscious of the fact that Nehru is invincible and has unmatched aura. Unless his image of a national hero is broken, public won't start questioning his decisions, programs and policies. It won't be healthy for an emerging democracy like India. So Lohia deliberately tried to question Nehru and did Pratima Bhanjan, breaking of image, so that Indian masses can ask the Prime Minister uncomfortable questions. In response to a question that many people say that Lohia's doctrine of staunch non-congressism led to the deep expansion of the roots of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, what do you find? Sachidanand Sinha smiled and replied, "It is very silly to say so. One should not forget that the core principle and objective behind Dr. Sahab's non-congressism was to strengthen the opposition, which is vital for any democracy. And he deserves due credit for that. He made the people of India believe that there can be alternative to the Congress and the ruling party can be defeated. This conviction of Dr. Lohia won him audience in different parts of the country." There is a sea difference between Vipaksh Yukt Bharat and Vipaksh Mukt Bharat. Dr. Lohia was a great advocate of India with opposition, and he saved India from being one-party system democracy. Dr. Lohia used to talk about Manasik Swaraj, and often said for legislative, bureaucratic and judicial purposes, Indian languages should be used. The language in which you have campaigned among your voters, sought votes, you should raise your voices on their behalf in that very language in the biggest panchayat of the country. When I talked to Dharmendra Yadav, former MP Badaयूं and Manpuri, he said a very interesting thing. समाजवाद तो अभाव में पली विचारधारा है. लोहिया जी को कितनी मशक्कत करनी पड़ती थी, बालू में से तेल निकाल लेते थे, और आज हम तेल के भंडार में से भी तेल नहीं निकाल पा रहे. Lohia never celebrated his birthday because on the very 23rd March, we remember the martyrdom of three brave sons of India, Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajput. Dr. Lohia wrote the reviews of some literary works. He had the compassion of a literary figure along with sharp political consciousness. What he wrote on Rama, Krishna, Shiva is simply brilliant. He tried to bring the cultural thread out that connected India in its diversity. He used to say, Lord Rama connected this country from north to south, and it was Lord Krishna who connected this country from east to west. Though he entered very deep into that and could never come out of that. In 1955, he wrote on Krishna in the mouthpiece Jana, and I didn't find such a beautiful mimamsa on Krishna anywhere else. Even in mythologies, his admiration is for Draupadi because she protests. She speaks for human dignity, and he's sad for Sita, and he goes to the extent of saying Indian women should be like Draupadi, not like Sita or Savitri. And he says in one of his articles, Rama, Krishna and Shiva, O Bharat Mata, please give me the Maryada of Rama, open and large heart of Krishna and the brain of Shiva. Lohia was ahead of his times. In his Sapta Kranti, he has talked about revolution against inequality between men and women. And there is a critic of Hindi literature, Dr. Nambar Singh. He says, तमाम राजनीतिक नेताओं में अकेले लोहिया मुझे दिखाई पड़े जिनमें पाखंड नहीं था, कोई हिपोक्रेसी नहीं थी. लोहिया पारदर्शी थे, जैसे वे शीशे के घर में रहा करते थे, जिसका एक उदाहरण यह है कि वे रेलवे में प्राइवेट कूपे में सफर करते थे और एक भद्र महिला उनके साथ रहा करती थी. लेकिन वे इस बात को कभी छुपाते नहीं थे, इसलिए राजनीति में वे अकेले पाखंड शून्य आदमी थे. उनसे पहले गांधी जी में यह पाखंड नहीं था, और गांधी जी के बाद कोई दिखाई पड़ता है तो वे लोहिया थे. राजनीति में काम करने वाले लोगों के दो चेहरे हुआ करते हैं, लेकिन उस समय की राजनीति में लोहिया एकमात्र बड़े नेता थे जो पाखंडहीन थे, जबकि यह पाखंड इस वक्त के कई बड़े नेताओं में दिखाई पड़ता है. Former Union Minister Devendra Yadav, who came with the idea of Lal Card and Pila Card in the United Front government to give food grains to the BPL families, recalls, in the Gandhi Maidan, JP gave a call for total revolution, and some journalists asked, what do you mean by this term? He told that what my younger brother Dr. Lohia meant by Sapta Kranti, that is revolution against economic injustice, revolution against caste system, revolution against gender inequality, nationalist revolution against imperialism, revolution against color discrimination, revolution for individual rights against collectivity, procedural revolution of non-violent civil disobedience. Sampurna Kranti carries the essence of that, nothing different. Understand this in one sentence. He said, to fight against every sort of injustice is socialism. Even a pinch of communalism from government side is more dangerous than quintal of communalism from opposition side. He was more critical of his government in comparison of the Congress and governments. Madhulima remembers once Karpuri Thakur, the then Deputy Chief Minister and Education Minister of Bihar, came to meet Lohia. Dr. Lohia refused to talk to him and said, go and fulfill the promises, then come to see me. And being Education Minister, when Karpuri Thakur did something substantial and came to Delhi next time, Lohia met him lovingly. This is Lohia. He is a leader of the League who is unchanged in his approach, whether being in opposition or in government. When the police of Kerala lathi-charged on the armless protesters and some of them died, Lohia demanded resignation of the Chief Minister Thanu Pillai of Kerala. JP was against his demand. The party president didn't listen to Lohia. Lohia's voice became weak in the party. He was expelled from the party, but his dreams remained alive. Chandrabhushan Singh from Devariya, UP, gave me an interesting oral testimony in the form of intergenerational memory. His father was working in Calcutta and was associated with Socialist Party's workers' wing. Once Lohia came to Kolkata in the late 50s, Chandrabhushan Singh's father asked Lohia innocently, "Sir, you have promised the masses that if you come to power, you will give the farmers 1 acre land and a pair of ox." Nehruji says that my learned friend Lohia is talking big. I can understand one of his promises that he will give 1 pair of ox to every farmer, but there is fixed agricultural land in this country. How can he expand that and give 1 acre to every farmer? So here in Calcutta, we socialists have become the subject of joke. Both congressmen and comrades are making fun of us. Lohia laughed and said in his own exclusive style, "Are Murak, this is the era of Gandhi and Nehru. The country has become independent recently, and the memory of the freedom struggle is very much alive in their minds. They owe it to Bapu and Nehru. Country has not come out of the magic of Nehru. 2-4 सीट जाओ, जीत जाओ पूरे देश में, वही गनीमत है. सरकार तेरी कहाँ बनने वाली है कि तुमको 1 एकड़ जमीन सबको देना पड़ेगा." If I don't give votes to the people and make such promises, who will listen to us? So this is the rochakta and innocence in these testimonies, and the essence of the fact also remains there. The agency of the audience is intact. When I talked to Professor Anand Kumar, whose Dadihal was with Socialist Party Lohia Group and Nanihal was with Praja Socialist Party Ashok Mehta Group, he remembered Lohia with great admiration and reverence. His uncle and father were very much active in Banaras in the party, and in fact his house was the center of activities for the Socialist Party. Anand Kumar had met Lohia in his Tarunavastha. Lohia came to Kashi Vidyapeeth on the call of Anand Kumar and addressed students. He remembered those days when Lohia criticized Nehru ruthlessly. The song by Lata Mangeshkar, "A Mere Watan Ke Logo," brought tears in the Prime Minister's eyes after China War. Lohia termed it as Kodi Bhavukta and hiding failures of foreign policy by such events. Anand Kumar couldn't help his tears when he said, "In those days, Lohia's statements and articles used to excite us, but that was not the case. Lata's song was not the manifestation of unreasonable sentiments. Nehru wanted to boost the morale of his countrymen." Professor Kumar remembered Lohia in the context of Indo-Pak War. Lohia used to say that the way Kaurav and Pandavas belong to the same Vanshvriksh, Bharat and Pakistan are also of the same culture. Who will lose? In fact, none of the two. Ultimately, Bharat Mata will lose. But when the war has started, let it finish soon. But there should be no disintegration within the country. Hindus and Muslims should tie Rakhi to one another. Anand Kumar remembers the experiment of Lohia and the discourse of Maharani versus Mehtarani. Lohia fielded Sukho Rani against the Rajmata of Gwalior, Vijaya Raja Sindhia. Sukho Rani lost, but Lohia succeeded to keep a discourse in the country. When Anand Kumar went to Gwalior, a lady came to him and said, "I am the wife of the grandson of Sukho Rani, whom Dr. Lohia gave ticket. I am MLA and now minister in the MP government." Anand Kumar says the seeds sown by Lohia have become trees and now giving fruits and shadows to the needy. In doing this work, Lohia was finished, the party was scattered, but dreams are still alive. His memories are living documents that narrate the journey of many generations. Alok Mehta, former member of JNU Court and now the minister in the Bihar government, remembers Lohia through intergenerational memory. His father, Tulsidas Mehta, became MLA in 1962. He opposed a resolution of Dr. Lohia in the convention of the party. Lohia was very happy that there are people in his party who have the conviction to oppose their leader. Lohia himself shares a dialogue between him and Gandhiji. एक दिन अखबारों में एक खबर छपी कि मुस्लिम इलाके में 303 बंदूकें पाई गई। वास्तविकता यह थी कि एक इलाके में एक मुसलमान के यहाँ एक बंदूक बरामद हुई थी जिसे 303 कहा जाता था। बंदूक के नाम के अंक को खबर में तादाद बना दिया गया था। मैंने थोड़े रोष में गांधी जी से कहा कि आखिर ऐसी गलत खबरें छाप कर हम जैसे लोगों के कामों को क्यों बेकार कर दिया जाता है। मेरे रोष को प्रभावहीन करने के लिए गांधी जी ने हंसकर कहा कि तेरा बाप तो मेरा अंधभक्त था, पर तुम कैसे इतने झगड़ालू। मैंने अपनी बात जारी रखी और कहा, लेकिन बापू, सूचना और प्रसारण मंत्रालय द्वारा जारी की गई रिपोर्ट ने हफ्तों के लगातार काम को चौपट कर दिया। गांधी जी ने कहा कि क्या तुम इस मंत्रालय को नहीं चला सकते? तुम तो जिम्मेदारी से भागते हो। मैंने कहा कि अब आप जब इस नतीजे पर पहुंच जाएं कि देश में सबसे अच्छे लोग कांग्रेस नेता ही नहीं हैं, तभी आप मुझे कुछ जिम्मेदारी दें। गांधी जी ने उसी मुद्रा में कहा कि क्या मैं यह घोषणा करूं कि तुम नेहरू से ज्यादा अच्छे हो? मैंने भी कहा कि ऐसी घोषणा आप करें तो कोई हर्ज की बात न होगी। हाँ, इसके विरोध में आपके पास यदि कोई कारण हो तो कहें। इस बात के करीब 36 घंटे बाद गांधी जी ने मुझे रात को अपने सोने के कमरे में बुलाकर पूछा, क्या मैंने कभी ऐसा कहा है कि वे लोग सबसे अच्छे हैं? मैंने कहा कि हाँ, आपने ऐसा एक नहीं 1000 दफे कहा है। तब गांधी जी ने कहा कि मैंने कहा था इनसे ज्यादा अच्छे नहीं, दोनों में फर्क है। Once a person asked Lohia, राष्ट्रपति बड़ा कि प्रधानमंत्री? Lohia said, Nehru बड़ा। That was Lohia's exclusive humor. Now I share 2 testimonies on Bhupesh Gupta. One by Ramanaresh Pandey, State Secretary, Communist Party of India, Bihar, and the other one by Virendra Yadav, a critic of Hindu literature. Ramanaresh Pandey told me that Comrade Gupta used to come to Bihar to address the rallies, and he had delivered his speech in English in Mithilanchal region. There was an interpreter who interpreted his speech in Hindi for the masses. His stature was so big that there was no hooting or any expression of being bored was felt. People were looking at him with great amusement and high respect. He told them about workers' unity, farmers' issues, and the party's relationship with Congress government at the center. In the national interest, we have to take a stand with some of the party men, which some of the party men may not like. But this is how the country is run. So when you feel connected to someone, language is no longer a barrier. There is a college after his name in Kaimur, Bhagwa, Shahabad region of Bihar. Virendra Yadav remembers his good understanding with Indira Gandhi, as both were in England. Bhupesh Gupta used to come in the study circle, and Indira Gandhi also joined him. His hearing ability was weak, so in the parliament, when he exceeded his time, sometimes he deliberately ignored the speaker and pretended that he couldn't listen to the chair. That's why he couldn't stop. But I won't do so. There are so many oral testimonies on Lalu Prasad, but I will share some of them with you, very brief. Saurabh Vajpayee, a student of Center for Historical Studies, told me that once Panikkar Sahab, many other academic, civil society members, and Lalu Prasad were in a program at the IIC. Panikkar Sahab spoke for 40 minutes. When Lalu Prasad came, he said, Professor Sahab spoke very well, लेकिन आप लोगों को कुछ बुझाया? But many of you might not have understood because of language problem. I summarize his message. We have to fight against communal agenda and hatred. What Gandhi Baba gave us, we have to save that. Vote का राज माने छोट का राज. Gandhi जी का अंतिम आदमी is important in democracy. Nobody should feel ignored, be it minority or anyone. Christian community has served this country by opening good schools. One cannot be allowed to spew venom against them. Professor Panikkar was surprised and he admired Lalu Prasad a lot, remembering Shakespeare that brevity is the soul of wit. There is another testimony by Dr. Virendra Narayan, former director Bihar Rashtra Bhasha Parishad. He remembers Prabhas Joshi, who came to Patna to receive an award by the Bihar government and shared a memoir. There was a delegate that visited Pakistan. Lalu Prasad was in that delegate. We were crossing an area and saw some shepherds. A journalist asked, for you, what is the meaning of democracy? Before I started speaking, Lalu Prasad spoke with great spontaneity. If by virtue of perseverance, the offsprings of these shepherds become the president of Pakistan in the coming days, and due to inaction, akarmanyata, the financial condition of Musharraf's children become worse, and they start keeping animals at farms. That is the beauty of democracy. Pawan, a cartoonist at Patna, went to Lalu Prasad to invite him for an exhibition, but Lalu Prasad told him that he would ask VP Singh to open your exhibition. He is ex-PM, you will be famous. But Pawan said, I will get it done by you, and that too in Patna, otherwise I will burn my cartoons. All the cartoons were making fun of Lalu. In fact, in one cartoon, he was shown eating chara. That was the time of what came in news. Pawan told Lalu Prasad that Shankar Pillai made around 1500 cartoons on Nehru, but Nehru used to visit his exhibition. It's up to you whether you want to follow the path of Nehru or not. Lalu Prasad was amazed. He gave his note and he went to release the book of Pawan named Lalu Leela. We can preserve these memories because we cannot get it anywhere else. This is how a person's life story travels that make him or her mukammal or complete. Now I will quickly share one or two testimonies on Indira Gandhi, Madhu Dandavate and Modi. I was talking to Krishnadev Prasad of Farkiarism. He said, in the public meetings, Indira Gandhi used to refrain herself from taking names of opposition leaders. She did so deliberately. विरोधियों का कहना है. In this style she spoke. We had heard her at Samastipur. What a graceful lady she was. During our conversation, Vinod Mahato was sitting nearby. He told that Raj Narayan was bekar aadmi. कोई मर्यादा नहीं थी बोलने में. A national leader is not supposed to speak like that. That too on a prime minister who nationalized banks, privy purse खत्म किया, defeated Pakistan, क्या नहीं किया. Raj Narayan's level was below a Mukhya Sarpanch, at least in his selection of words and in his tone. Krishnadev Prasad reacted. What do you know about Raj Narayan? He donated all his lands to the landless. He lived his life for the voiceless. He was a fakkar, nirmohi, nispri, nirlipt insan. One should be evaluated in totality. कभी कभार जबान फिसल जाती है. विनोद महतो said, हम लोग इंदिरा जी को आनंद विभोर होकर सुनते थे. She used to use small sentences. Her voice was as fresh as that of a child. Dr. Dinana, head of the department English JJ College Gaya, shared his reception of Indira ji's rhetoric. She came to Bhagalpur and the first sentence she uttered was, Bhagalpur ek jagruk shahar hai. And unfortunately, in Bhagalpur there was a tragic riot. People are saying that she had got education from England, but she had covered her head with pallu, and how graceful and elegant she looked. And the last, two testimonies on Madhu Dandavate. There was a public meeting of Professor Dandavate at Munger. My father, Haldar Prasad, remembers. Professor Dandavate chides Mungeris affectionately. आप लोग कैसे सोशलिस्ट हो जो मधु लिंगे जैसे आदमी को हरा दिया? Come with me and visit Rajapur, Konkan region of Maharashtra. I challenge, on the way I have developed the region, nobody can do that. And the people of Rajapur made me win even in the Indira sympathy wave of 1984, when even Atal Bihari, George and Sharad and many stalwarts lost. Jayaprakash Narayan Yadav, former Education Minister Bihar, shares his bond with Dandavate Sahab. He used to come in the training camp of the party and give mohabbat apnat to fellows like us. Ramanuj Prasad, MLA Sonpur, remembers that in 1998, Janata Dal led by Sharad Yadav didn't perform well in Bihar. On the Ramvilas Paswan won. 10 months later, I was in the car of Sharadji and were crossing the Rajendra Bridge from Patna to Hajipur. I asked him whether the party will enter the NDA. There is a speculation outside. He became very angry. It appeared to me as if he would throw me out of the car, and after some months, my fear became reality. The party joined hands with the BJP. There was a meeting. I stood and started speaking and made Sharadji remember that incident. He didn't react, but Dandavate Sahab patted me and said, "Well done, dear, keep the spirit high." He left the party and joined the JDS led by Devegowda. Suhas Golkar in his memoir shares that Professor Dandavate was then Deputy Chairman, the Planning Commission, during Devegowda's tenure. When the leadership was changed, Golkar drove Dandavate Sahab to Gujralji's residence. Dandavate wanted to tender his resignation that the new Prime Minister should make his own team. Gujral Sahab told him, Dandavate Sahab, how can you even think of it? You have been our beloved leader, you have to continue. These were some of the testimonies I wanted to share with you, and I can say that these testimonies help us understand the significance of memory in the life story, and they have the potential of becoming the part of the archive sooner or later. As John Keats said, the music of the earth is never dead, if one has ears to hear. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for this very interesting memories. Mother is so kind about that. So I think we have just a few minutes, so we don't push this too far. Our rapporteur wants to say something. Okay, so we will go on to questions definitely. Would you like to start?